Well, in this election year, there's already been a whole lot of talk about the role of government, how big or small it should be, and what it should or shouldn't regulate. Now, one agency, the Transportation Security Administration, was among the topics of discussion at least one of those Republican debates that seem to be never ending. And now a Republican senator, Republican Rand Paul from Kentucky, is making it a major issue, trying to call attention to it. He issued a statement just last week saying the American people should not be subjected to harassment, groping, and other public humiliation simply to board an airplane. As you may have heard, I have some personal experience with this, and I vowed to lead the charge to fight back. Now, you may remember Senator Rand Paul missed an event here in D.C. after a trip to the airport a few months ago. While passing through a full body scanner, his knee somehow raised a red flag, and TSA agents asked him to submit a hands-on search. Senator Paul refused and ended up missing his flight. So I want to talk about all of this with Charlie McGrath, founder of wideawakenews.com. Hey there, Charlie. What's your take? Why do you think this is an issue that Senator Rand Paul is choosing to focus on now?
Well, I think he's following, obviously, in the footsteps of his father, watching the usurpation of liberty in this country, and it terrifies him just as much as it does his father and just as much as it does myself. You know, I've went through the airport, and I refuse to go through the naked body scanner. So if I'm cattle card into one of the lines that has a naked body scanner, I'll take the invasive pat down, mainly in a civil protest in order to slow the process up. But it's extremely invasive, extremely invasive. I mean, they make sure that you understand that they're there to dominate, intimidate, and control. You know, I'm glad to see Rand Paul is stepping up in his efforts to shut this canard down, this canard that we have safety through the Transportation Safety Agency.
And as you did mention already, his father, presidential candidate Ron Paul, has actually been talking about putting an end to the TSA for years now. He goes as far as to say this increased number of TSA agents and pat-downs is just another sign that the police state in this country is growing out of control. But Ron Paul's views, this particular view that Rand Paul has put forth, do you really think that a majority of Americans feel this way as well?
Well, I don't know. I can't speak for the majority of Americans. Unfortunately, my personal thought is they don't, because they're you know, subjugated to the nonstop propaganda from the mainstream media and as well as Washington. It's not a week goes by, it seems like, we don't hear of some contrived terror attack that was thwarted thanks to the efforts of the FBI or the Joint Terrorism Task Force or the TSA. And when we look into these, and we don't even have to look very deep into them, when we just look barely under the surface, we see in most cases, you know, for an example, the Cleveland Five, the Cleveland bombers that were announced on May Day, May 1st, a thwarted attack. This was an FBI setup from start to finish. So, you know, I think most Americans think that Washington, D.C. is there to protect them. And most Americans do not remember the lessons of history. People like Benjamin Franklin saying, when you want to give up your liberty for safety, you're going to get and deserve neither. And I think that's where we're at right now, Christine.
But I think a lot of Americans don't even look that far. Many of them haven't heard about the Cleveland Five, which we actually will be talking about a little later in the show. What they see is the fact that there has not been a successful terrorist attack on board an airplane since 9/11, really. And so, you know, there needs to be some sort of, you know, method that makes sure that guns and bombs and other weapons don't get on board planes. I guess I'm wondering, I mean, this is obviously an issue that you care about. What do you think are some good alternative solutions?
I think the private sector always provides the best solutions. Now, the argument is going to be that we had private sector security or screeners on 9/11. But the fact is, I mean, you know, we've had 100 years of aviation in this country, and we've had one terror attack. And there's a lot of people that question, did the United States know about this before it happened? But look what we did. We, instead of ratcheting up maybe regulation on the private sector for security, we've turned it into this monster, this security industrial complex that's completely out of control in this country, spending billions and billions of dollars every single year that we don't have, that we get to borrow from other countries such as China. In fact, in Washington, D.C. today, we have nearly 4,000 TSA officials in D.C., not protecting anybody except for their own jobs, making over $100,000 a year. So I think the answer is simple. We do need security, But we don't need this monstrous government apparatus controlling our very lives. And they don't even look for the people that are allegedly the enemy. They're patting down little old ladies. They're patting down people. In Rand Paul's case, he had some kind of knee implement, and it set off the detector. So they held him up. They're not doing this to keep America safe. They're doing this to keep themselves in a job.
You know, and from what I understand, no longer is it just in airports that some of these things are happening.
That's right.
There are now random bag checks and sweeps on buses and trains.
Yes.
And from what I understand, TSA continues today to enhance its relationship, you know, with city and county police departments. What is your concern for, you know, as we see this expansion take place before our eyes? I mean, what is your major concern about this?
My major concerns already come and went. We are in a Stasi police state. Napolitano herself alluded to the idea that, you know, when the screeners came online, that people can travel another way if they don't want to fly and go through this security procedure. Well, you can't do that now. Now, if you go by plane, you're going to be strip searched or patted down. If you're going to go by bus in Texas, they just had these Viper teams come out and do random searches there. In Arkansas, in Illinois, we had Amtrak subject to search. And in Virginia, they're searching cars on a bridge. So there is no safe place that you can go or travel, a safe way to travel, that you're not going to have the government in your business. So that is my main concern. It isn't what's coming, it's what's absolutely right here. And again, they're going to justify it by a couple different ways. They're going to say either if you have nothing to fear, then you'll just submit to these random searches. But the fact is, that is stealing your liberty. You have everything to fear when a government bureaucrat is standing before you telling you to show me your papers.
Times certainly have changed in the last decade or so in the way we travel and what, frankly, most people have just gotten used to. Charlie McGrath, founder of WideAwakeNews.com in Bozeman, Montana.